Painter Coupe SUV. It has 787 horsepower, 800 Nm of torque, 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds, and a top speed of 250 km/h. What name comes to your mind first? There's absolutely no gasoline SUV can do this, and if you do want this kind of performance, you have to spend at least 100 grand for these EVs. But now, with only 40 to 50 grand, you can have this. This is an IM LS6. Comes from the brand that was chosen by Audi, providing platforms for their next EV. Earlier, I showed you guys the wild LS7. I thought the LS6 would be a practical family car, but now look at it, it's an 800 horsepower super SUV. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to drive this beast today. What I can show you are the interesting bits it has. I'm Harris, you're watching my EV. A lot of people accuse the back of the LS7 for being too much like the Aston Martin DBX. So on this LS6, well, they didn't really make it much subtler. They just took a different approach. Even though the tail lights are now thicker and there's a small screen added in the middle, being a coupe SUV, the ducktail alone ended up looking even more like a DBX. But to be honest, at least it looks pretty good. And it doesn't remind me of the DBX that much. Unlike the LS7, when I see one in the distance, I really can't tell. Another major problem on the LS7 is the propulsion. We know it's a big 5-meter SUV, but when I take a picture of it, it looks like a small hatchback. And the LS6 has the same issue. The coupe style is very sleek, but the bottom looks a bit too thick. Perhaps it's for accommodating the battery. And unlike a regular SUV, it doesn't have the black fender flares, which makes it look even bulkier. But it can also be seen as a well-integrated design in someone else's eye. How about you? .237 coefficient drag is actually really low for a coupe SUV, only behind Tesla Model Y and new EC7. And you can clearly notice many features that were designed for aerodynamics. To be honest, all the complex curvature does make the car look fancier. And IM even had them named, like air ribbon, stretching skirt, waterfall LiDAR. I have no idea what they mean. Speaking of LiDAR, this time it's finally at the right place, where it has the best view and is less likely to be damaged. And many EV new forces in China all adopt the same design. Whereas the LS7, those 3 horns really look like a police light bar. Since the IM L7 already is a CTCC safety car, I say it's better to make the LS7 the medical car, because it does look like one. When you press the left turn signal, the dashboard will show you the blind spot behind the left A-pillar. Press the right turn signal, it will show you rear right blind spot. And when the visibility is bad, like on a rainy night, it will highlight the traffic and obstacles. So you can see how determined IM is to eliminate every blind spot. Although I think these assistants could be better if paired with AR HUD and digital rearview mirror, but as of now, it might still be the best way. I was quite confused when I first heard about it, but when I sat in the cockpit and saw how bad the backwards visibility is, I understood why. Since the view is already rubbish, why not have the dashboard display the rear view and put away the mirror, eliminating yet another blind spot? To be honest, it won't kill you without a rear view mirror. When you have 800 horsepower, you don't have to watch what's behind you. It's a shame that LS6 doesn't have the LS7 extremely comfortable seats, but it does have modifiable seats. Unlike trays in other cars, it has a proper table in the back, and there are IM Mag signs on the back of the front seat, meaning that they are magnetic. So you can attract other things onto it, and there are more mags in the boot. By the way, the back seats are very comfy, and the headroom is pretty plenty, especially for a coupe SUV. Speaking of the boot, I have to tell you guys about its storage capacity. It's also pretty great for a coupe SUV. There's additional space under the loading bay, and there's a frunk, just like a Model Y. But the bad news for those who love modification is the frunk is kinda small. If you wanna store a set of air suspension, you can't put the air tank here. It is inappropriate to review an EV without discussing its intelligence, but sadly, I didn't have enough time to experience the system. What I can tell you is that the smoothness and aesthetics are quite good, but the overall operational logic is a bit flawed, especially the vertical scroll wheel controlling only 2 pages. It just doesn't make sense. But of course, it's still way better than Audi's. My boss, also an ET5 owner, has been constantly dissing his new Audi A6 Allroad. About ADAS, IM didn't tell me much. They merely expressed that it will cover most scenarios on the highway and in the city in the future. But they did show a few specific scenarios. And sadly, this is only shown to us verbally. Last time I said Audi will use the IM platform to build its own EV, but let's not forget, EV that comes out after 2023 should have an 800-volt architecture. And this LS6 is built on this very architecture, so the next Audi EV will very likely share this platform or even the whole bottom half, which means its dynamics and even intelligence will be very similar to the LS6. So when I get the chance to drive it, I'll let you know. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.